Hi everyone and welcome to my channel Karoline Knits. My name is Karoline and I live in Scotland with my husband Ben, our dog Fivel and our almost 1-year-old, I feels like at least, baby girl Selena. I am originally from Denmark but I've lived in Scotland for 11 years this month and it has been a hot minute since I was last here, but lots have changed, so I feel like at the tail end I will give a much more like a deep dive into what's been going on in my life. But I thought today I would show you just a few knits and what's kind of been going on in my knitting life and talk a bit about knitting. I did last night pull out my iPad to make some notes because I always forget everything I want to talk about otherwise. So I feel like today I'm going to start with the knitting in case that's what you're here for, and then I'll move on to the personal update. Today I am wearing sweater number 11 light by MyFavouriteThings Knitwear. This is knitted in Lana Gatto VIP and Filcolonatilia. Yes, that's the two, I think. It's at least VIP held with my hair. I knitted this in my first trimester and mainly in my first trimester of pregnancy, and I have loved it so much ever since. It was a labour of love because yeah, there's a lot of like positive ease to the body. I did do some a few changes to the original pattern. So the original pattern has like a twisted rib roll neck and all the rib is obviously twisted, but I personally wanted this to be a completely basic sweater, just classic, drop shoulder obviously, and honestly I wear it so much. And today is a Friday, Selena's at nursery, and I just thought while I film in my lunch break that I would just keep it simple today so I'm comfortable. So I didn't wear my major finished project, which I'm about to pull up for you. I will also do a little bit of editing. I'm going to keep it simple or these videos will never get out. But here's my big finished object. This is a jacket number 2, also by MyFavouriteThings Knitwear. She is just my go-to classic, not classic, but like easy to wear designer for myself. So this is jacket number 2. I should say gifted, because this is knitted in Rauma Fivel or Fivel or Fivel or whatever, however way you want to pronounce it, by Rauma, as I said. And this was gifted by my friend Simona, who owns Knit, basically because I kept sending her red cardigans that I wanted to make, and I reckon she just reached a point, she's like, pick some red yarn, get out of your system, and I don't have to receive a red cardigan every week. I cast it on when I was incredibly pregnant, and Selena came shortly after, and this piece has been quite special because I knitted on this whenever I got the chance. So this took me months and months to make, not because it's a hard pattern, but just because I had very limited time. And towards the tail end, it wasn't the easiest project to knit with Selena on my lap. I just made a reel where I shared like a few pictures I've taken of me knitting while she was a baby. And yeah, I bawled my eyes out because we're officially hitting that. She's not this teeny tiny wee newborn anymore. She's becoming this little toddler with opinions. But yeah, this is so lovely. Like the fit of it is just perfect. I'll put in the little clip I took for the reel so you can see it on me. I find this so easy to style. I think it's because this red to me, like, it's like a statement in some ways, but also it's very easy colour to wear. You can just basically wear it with a pair of jeans and like a t-shirt and you look really good. Also I can hear the drilling outside, so we've moved and I live in a new build, and that means that houses around me are still getting built, and so you're gonna have background noise. Hopefully it's not too bad. I find usually it's not too noticeable, but if it is I do apologise. But as I said, has been so easy to wear, and I don't think it's like that hard to knit. I feel like all over cables can seem really daunting, but in actuality cables are incredibly easy because it's essentially an all over rib tight garment, right? But you just twist some stitches every few rows, and these are not twisted that frequently, which give these very long cables. I will say, I don't know how well that's going to show up. I've not depilled it, and it is very, very pilly. So I find Fivel is like a really lovely yarn that I would use again. It very much reminds me of Piggin, but it has pilled quite a lot for me. And this has already, when I was taking up video, I took some of the pills of it, and there's already so many more. So I'm kind of hoping, I find some sweaters almost need to like get the initial pilling out of the way, and then it's like they slow down. I'm hoping that's what's happening, or it will just become another one of my knits that like you have to basically depill every single time you wear it, which I think is really annoying. But I don't find the yarn itchy at all, and what I really like about Fivel, similar to Piggin, is that it's not, while it pills and like Selena could pick off the pills that which she 100% would do, but it's not like, for example, this garment with mohair where like, you know, when babies get teeth, they get really drooly, and it's like you hold them and they get like mohair fluff all over their face. You do not get that with this. Fivel also says on the belly band that you can machine wash it. This would have been machine washed as far as I remember. I finished this back in June, because yeah, I basically this year reached a point I was like, I'm gonna chuck anything in my washing machine and hope it comes out on the other side, because it's just so much easier than blocking and carrying around big wet garments and stuff. But I really like that because, again, I'm also in a phase of life where like I'm gonna get hands that weren't fully cleaned from lunch on my clothes, and yeah, I don't want things to stain. So that's my big finished garment. And then, according to my iPad, next quick thing I wanted to mention, other things I have finished. My friend Lissy behind Hive Knits came up to visit, which was really, really lovely when she was very pregnant. I still cannot believe they drove all that way. And I really wanted to make her something, but I'm not going to lie, she came at a time in my life where my knitting time really wasn't, I didn't have a lot of it. So in contrast to the beautiful piece she made me when I had Selena, I made her some mittens and socks. So I really wish I could have taken the time to like make a full garment, but I just thought I'd pass on now on sort of like the other side of babyhood. If you do know someone having a baby and you want to make them something, but maybe not like a full garment or anything overly complex, especially if you don't think they're the type of people who would like to like wool wash things, even if it's not hand wash, I find things even for me that needed a specific wool wash can be a bit hard to keep on top of. So what I decided to make were a pair of mittens. I basically mashed together 2 patterns. So I basically made these like DK weight, were they DK weight? I think they were. These DK weight mittens with like a folded cuff that also had like I-cords. So essentially you just do knit 2 together yarn overs all the way around and thread an I-cord through it, just to keep them on baby hands, but without any fluff, just superwash merino. But especially when babies are first born, it's like they just have you know, they just put their hands on their face so much, and you obviously don't want lots of fluff. So I made that, and then I just made a pair of wool socks, because again, like I find that in the actual house Selena doesn't really believe in socks, but when we're out and about I quite like, you know, if she's in the pram or in the baby carrier, that she has a pair of nice socks to put on. And those are 2 things I would knit for myself if I had another baby, and also what I'd make for friends. So I thought I'd pass on that recommendation. And it's also quite good because they're quite good stash busting if you are having a baby and you want to like buy special things. It's also a great way to buy maybe some minis and use it for that. Right, let's move on. So now we're going to move on to some baby knits. First off, I'm just going to really quickly hold this up and show you. This is the Badger sweater by Anna Wenzel. I knitted this because I saw Knitting Traditions talk about it, and I just thought it would be a great way to use up my Sniff Nook scraps. I talked in the last episode about issues with the neckline, which was definitely true. I also ran out of yarn So like I finished essentially split for sleeves, and then I wanted to see how much yarn I had left, so I made the sleeves first so they were full length, and then I moved on to the body. I do still have some sniff nick, and I did wonder if I wanted to add in like a second colour, but in the end I just decided to use up these two. So I finished this. I knitted this in the smaller size, which I think is 2 years. Sorry, I have sniff nick fluff on my face. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I think she'll fit this winter, especially if I fold the sleeves, because the body is not quite full length. So yeah, it's very cute, very soft, and very simple. I still don't know if I'm that convinced about the pattern. Like, I thought the neckline was very poorly described, but here it is, all nice and finished. Another project I have made for Selena, which I don't actually technically count this as finished because I haven't sewn on buttons yet. There's another thing I feel like I still have the last finishing touch to do, but this is the time I have to film, and at the minute, if I have the time, I'm gonna take it. So this is the Irantas lace cardigan by Knitting for Sif, and I knitted this in size, I think this is 2 to 3, or maybe it's a size bigger. It's definitely, like, if I hold these up together, you can see this is considerably bigger. So I do not think she will fit this winter, even with the sleeves folded. Like, I think at the minute this would be like a dress lengthwise on her, which is completely intentional because I do have quite a few things she'll fit this winter, and I did want some things that would maybe fit next winter folded up, and then the winter after that. Just because when they are tiny, it's like, you know, in the first year, they're essentially growing out of their clothes like so quickly that you almost don't get to use them. You know, like in the first year you go through 5 or 6 sizes, and already now that she's approaching 1 year, I can see how all of a sudden we're not growing out of sizes as quickly. And so I just feel like it's a better use of my time to maybe knit things ever so slightly bigger. I should also say I had gifted, because this is actually leftover yarn from a test knit I did for My Favourite Things way back around my wedding, and I've been married 3 years, so it's been in my stash quite a while. This is Knitting for Olive Merino, and I think this is in the colour Dove Blue, and it's not obviously a traditionally like girly colour, but I do actually quite like it. I'm not quite sure what she'll wear it with in time, but I even think if you got like a pair of patterned leggings and just a simple coloured t-shirt or something, that might be nice. So yeah, what I'm still needing to do is obviously add the buttons, and then I'm also going to snip the final ends. I always like to wet block it first with slightly longer ends, so that if, I don't know, you know, it stretches a little bit, you're not going to have it unraveling. Oh, sneeze. What I was also going to say about the whole size thing is that I have been thinking about making a like what I would knit for my baby type video, or like talking about my baby knit experience, because I feel like when I was pregnant it was really helpful to see, and yeah, that's kind of on my list. I think before having Selena I was quite nervous about becoming too much of someone who just knits children's patterns, because obviously when I didn't have kids myself it wasn't something I was particularly interested in. But I also am coming around very much to the fact that like my content needs to organically change with who I am as a person, and like I have completely growth wise like followers and subscribers stalled. Like my growth is so slow now that I think I kind of just have accepted that like I have grown to the size I'm going to grow, and that's okay. I don't need to chase what the algorithm wants me to do, because, you know, if I need 10 people watch this video, it's still kind of mental that 10 people have watched it. And so I think I'm just going to accept that I'm in a phase of life where what I really want to knit is children's garments, and so you will probably see more of that. And then maybe, you know, over winter when I've made a stockpile of things, I'm kind of going to lose the drive for that and then make something else. But anyway, this knit I cast on in May, and I will say that like I finished this after we've moved. Yeah, because I only blocked it in this house, so it's taken me several months. And I think like this fabric is stunning, right? Like Knitting for Olive Merino is such a lovely merino, They do say like obviously proceed with caution, but can be machine washed, and it's certainly true for my machine. I don't have a particularly fancy washing machine, but the wool cycle on that seems to work quite well, so that's quite good. And this does create such a lovely light fabric, like if you compare it to something like this. But see, a children's even a children's garment that's fingering weight, it just does nothing for me. Like the body on this took me so long. That's strange, it almost looks like there's a knot in that. It just takes so long to knit, and I actually found the body especially just became quite a slog. I was really excited to knit this lace colour, but I'm also going to be honest and say that the pattern, I think at times don't have that much detail, and I found it a bit hard to always like figure out what I'm meant to do. And I think it's because nowadays when I knit, it's like I maybe have half an hour, or I'm doing it like after Selena's bedtime when my head's tired, and I just need simplicity in my life. Like I am full on, full blown in my petite knit era, because I know that even though I can even struggle with her patterns, usually I can figure it out. I just do not think I'm in a phase of my life where like, it's things like, for example, before the sleeve cuff, you have to knit a certain number of decreases. And it's like, work this number of decreases, not like knit 3, decrease, knit 5, decrease, knit 3 kind of thing. And I think for me, I'm just in a phase of life where I want that. I want things to be simple and easy, and not something where I have to do any type of thinking. That's not to say though that this isn't really stunning, and she makes a lot of, I think, really pretty patterns, and I do really like that lace colour. I think it is quite a nice finish, and I also think even without the colour, you know, you pick up stitches and add that, you could totally make this cardigan without it. So yeah, it's not to fully put you off the pattern. I feel like that would not be quite right, but it isn't petite knit level of ease, I don't think. So I'm finished this. I do have some buttons which I'm not sure that I bought before I cast this on, so I need to see if I have enough, but I think I have some like dark blue mother of pearl buttons that I was planning to use, and otherwise I'll just use something else. But yes, this is the first one. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is, I also realised after Lissy was here, I'm just gonna pick them up, that you can buy yarn, obviously, it makes sense now, that you like, let me start over. When you have a baby and you have to start buying clothes, like Vinted in the UK is massive. I don't know if Vinted really exists everywhere, but Vinted is essentially like Depop, or it's like an online buying platform, right, where you can like buy things. But what's quite neat is like you buy things and, you know, there's like ways to ship that are really easy, and people sell things for quite cheap, especially baby clothes, because again, as I said earlier, they grow out of things so fast. So I've always, like myself, I'm really into Vinted. I think secondhand clothes for babies are just, it's the way to go. They wear things for such a short amount of time, and especially before they start eating solids, it's not like excuse me, it's not like they, you know, they don't get many stains on their clothes, and it's just so wasteful to not reuse clothes. So I also sell things for, like, sell Selena's clothes for cheap on Vinted. But anyway, Lissy came and she's like, oh, have you ever actually looked at yarn on that? And I tried a few times, but I never really felt like much came up when I'd looked, and I just didn't try that hard. And then after she had been, I gave it another go and I found a lot more. But what I also found in my looking things up, so like, you know, I searched for sandness and then this came up. So this is not knitted by me. I've obviously bought this on Vinted. This is the Teddy Sweater by Petite Knit, and this is in size 9 to 12 months. It's knitted in Alpaca 2 by Isar and Turn Silk Mohair from Sandness, and I paid £10 for this, which, like, personally I think is an amazing steal. You know, if you can also obviously buy wool garments in general, and if you've ever looked at what wool costs, oh, the dog's here, she's like, mummy, why are you talking? like if you ever looked at what like a merino garment cost, even for like a small child, it is expensive. Like I think if you go, say, even to a place like H&M, and could you not please, if you go to a place like H&M and you want to buy a wool sweater for, you know, a baby, you're paying at least £20 for it. So the fact someone made this and like hand knitted it, I thought was an absolute steal. It's obviously a very neutral colour. So I bought this, and I also feel like, could we not? Right, let's see if this will pacify her for a little bit. Are you neglected? But yeah, I just thought it was such a good deal, especially because I was like, it will give me a chance to see, would I find the fit, the general fit of this pattern. I haven't checked if she met gauge, so you know, it could be off, but then I am just as bad for that, for baby garments. But I could sort of see, would I get a lot of use out of it? And honestly, I've already used it quite a lot. It's a great top layer in the pram, especially like just when, or like on really cold mornings in the car or whatever, because it's quite thin. Not thin as such, like it's not thin like the merino on its own, it's like a fingering weight, but because you're holding a fingering weight with some fluff, it kind of is quite airy feeling, and it's not bulky, so it's easy to fit in with things, and it just, yeah, it's a great extra layer. Usually have it lying downstairs so that if I feel like she could be cold, I pop that on, and the sleeves are still quite long, so I can just fold them up and kind of use them like that. So I made that, and I bought that, sorry, and started using it, and I was like, yes, this is a winner. So now that I'm having a bit more knitting mojo again, I was ready to revisit it. What I will say, and someone did ask about my opinions about using mohair for babies. So I'm not as such against using mohair once they're over the like very, very tiny baby stage. Like Selena is so much bigger now, I wouldn't be too worried. However, I can see that cardigan or that sweater, when Selena, like when I tried to put it on her when she was just wearing like a long sleeve or a short sleeved t-shirt type thing underneath, and see, as soon as she got it on, she was like trying to get off. You could just tell she did not like it and that she found it itchy. And honestly, I am not gonna obviously force my child to wear something she won't wear. So that kind of was like, okay, I'm not gonna knit with any more like mohair specifically, just because, you know, I don't want her to like develop an aversion to wearing knitwear because I put her in mohair so early. However, I'm not particularly against fluff, and I don't find that she's like particularly bothered when I wear things that could be itchy. And now I just, again, I still used to sweater, I just always like, you know, she'll wear like a long sleeve body or something underneath, and I make sure to like tuck it, like to tuck the sleeves under so they like stick out so it's not touching. Also, I think at least that pattern especially has quite a wide neckline, and in contrast, like a double folded collar like this, I think, you know, that kind of single collar just makes for much more comfortable and not high fitting neck, which I think is the better. So all of this to say, I was then like, right, let me have a look at that pattern again once I kind of got the desire to make her something once I'd finished a cardigan. And I realised that up until quite, I think like maybe 2 to 3, 3 to 4, like quite a long while, you actually only, like, you need less than 100 grams of fingering weight. So I had a look, and I realised that I had this is what I've left. I had a little bit of hand-dyed merino. I think this is not one ply, I think it's one ply. I'm not great with the categorization of yarns. That I bought when I finished my last job before starting my current one, and I've been in my current job 5 years this year. So if that doesn't tell you how long, you know, this 100 grams have been in my stash, essentially when I left as a leaving present, I got given a gift card to Loop London, and I bought yarn that I knitted, what's up there, I don't think you'll be able to see it, that I knitted the Elizabeth blouse with, like a full project's worth. And then with the little bit that was left over, I essentially decided to buy this one skein that I think at the time I maybe planned to make a hat out of, and from memory I did cast it on but realised that it needed to be double strand and I hadn't, and it was just a weird fit, and if I'm honest I didn't quite love the colour. However, you know, when I looked at it again I was like, this might actually be quite perfect for a baby knit and it would be a great way to use up most of it. So that's what I did. So I literally just finished this last night. So this is the teddy sweater in size 12 to 18 months. And I've knitted it, as I said, in this hand-dyed merino. This is Leitenen lace, in the colour Icy Seashells. And I decided something I think can kind of bring together hand-dyed, or like kind of, I don't know, I quite like the look of it. I decided to just have a solid colour for all the ribbing, which again I really love the look of, and I think you need less than 100 grams for the next size up, and I think I will use that technique again, just because I think if you didn't feel like you're running out of yarn, you can always add, you know, like an extra centimetre to the ribbing or whatever, and you can kind of, you know, play yarn chicken a bit better. So this was yarn, I was given a random ball of this yarn because my gran knitted something for Selena and she gave me this, and I'm just keen to get worked up. It's quite an inoffensive colour, but I thought these two went quite well. And then you might be able to see that there is some fluff, and for fluff I decided to use Midnattssol from Karoline, which is one of those alpaca merino fluffy, very soft yarns. I had this in stash to be used with something else that worked into something else kind of thing, and I actually have this colour. I have a darker colour that I bought to hold with something else, and I also have cream, and having knitted it up now I do really like the feel of it. I think once this is blocked, I think it'll really soften up, and I would feel a lot more like confident that she might be willing to wear this against like bare arms, especially because once again, I don't know if you can tell, but this is like, it's a wide neckline that's going to be easy to get over her head, but it's not like this going to sit quite high. You'll probably be able to see whatever layer she's wearing underneath around the neck, but again I just think that's a good thing when they're so little and it's like could maybe be a bit itchy. So yeah, this is what I've made. And I absolutely love it. I love how the colours have come out. Because I just had the one skein, I haven't done any helical knitting. I've just hoped for the best that the colours were going to very evenly distribute, and I certainly think they have. So this is a real winner. My plans are, what I really want to do is, I think I'm going to knit a long I-cord, probably holding this double-stranded, so like the solid colour on its own, and I'm going to make it into a little bow on the front, so I will sew the bow on just loosely, and then I could take it off in time if I wanted, but I think it would create quite a good like detail on it. So the original teddy sweater has like a teddy bear face on it, which neither of mine have, but I just think that would be quite a nice look. And once again I'm going to go through my stash and see what else I can find to make some further sizes. When I first started knitting baby stuff, everyone tells you to knit cardigans, and I do agree that for like very small babies it's easier, but see, the age Selena is now, I don't actually think cardigans are more useful. I actually find her wearing sort of sweaters and sweatshirts a lot more than she used to, so that's probably what I would make. Right, so that was a big chat about baby knitting. Let's see what else is on my list. I'm just going to really quickly show you a project I'm hoping will be finished next time, which is my sweater number 9 light, because I'm on my body ribbing, and I'm quite excited to show you the fit of this next time. The ribbing is incredibly long, so I think it's meant to be maybe 10 centimeters, so I still have a bit of way to go, but as you can tell it has 2 sleeves. This has also been quite a good like easy knit, like because you could just pick it up and knit the body, and you could just pick it up and knit the sleeves and stuff. I did make a mistake in one of the sleeves and I had to do something which I very rarely do, but basically I'd completely missed the amount of rounds I was meant to. I don't know how that happened, but the sleeves were 2 different lengths, after I'd finished the ribbing and I hadn't realised. And I decided to make them ever so slightly longer, both of them, so that when it grows, like often sweaters grow in different ways, I wanted it to have a bit like this, like well past my wrist. I do not like bracelet length. Bracelet length makes me feel like the sweater has shrunk. So yeah, and it's quite rare for me to rib something back. But essentially what I did was I picked up stitches like at the end of the, like just before I'd started the ribbing, and then I cut off the start of the Italian bind off. I essentially just chopped off what would have been that row, and then I unravelled all of that back, and then I just tinked back until a point where I could feasibly be within 1 or 2 rows of the last decrease, and then I just added the extra rounds, which looking at it now I can't see which one that is. So yeah, because I feel like 1 or 2 rounds being off, that would be okay, but not like a whole decrease round. So yeah, I think it'll be very nice. Still smells very sheepy. I'm on my last skein, so that's also kind of nice that I might actually be able to work through most of that, and then once that's done I'm hoping to work that up. And I'm also knitting on the Amy slip over, which I'm not going to show you because I've probably added this since last time and no one is interested in seeing that. And I currently don't have, because I finished a sweater last night, I currently don't have anything on my needles for Selena. I think what's going to end up working well for me is having, like, as I've done, I've always been that way inclined, to have 2 active whips. That seems to be what my head can manage. I like having 2 whips because I like always having something cast on, and I hate casting on. But I also like having like projects at different stages, right? Like I know that big sweater, I can very easily just do a few rounds of ribbing. Like if we were going on an hour's drive, I could take that with me, or if at night I'm at a loose end for what to knit, I can take that. Whereas like the thing about that big sweater is if Selena's asleep on my lap, for example, that's probably too big now to realistically work without covering her. And then something like this is perfect. So I might cast on another one because this is, again, easy peasy knitting. This took me a week start to finish, and I am not in a phase of life where things usually are that quick, but that just tells you, like, I found this so easy to just pick up, do a round here and there while maybe Selena was playing, then while she had a nap in the evenings, doing meetings and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely doing another cast on for Selena. What I did do, or what I think I'll be doing, is as I said, Lissy got me into looking at yarn on Vinted, and I realised that there was someone desashing quite a lot of Peruvian. So some of this Peruvian is mine, this crinkly bag is mine, so I'll just take that out. But as you can maybe see underneath, there's lots of lovely colours. So a lot of it is like, I think the biggest quantity of anything was 3 skeins. It was this colour, these 3, and then like there's 2 of these ones. There's also, so I had a look, and the lady I bought it from said this was all Peruvian. This I know, this colour with the belly band, I obviously know what colour it is because the belly band says, but this is bubblegum pink and I already knew that. But then when I was kind of looking up what the colours were, I realised that this was also part of it, these 2 pinks. And there's no colour that matches that. And there's like a few other of the colours where I'm like, this is no natural like Peruvian colour that I can find at least. And there's a few of those. So I'm not sure everything is actually Peruvian, but to me it feels close enough that I could live with that. So I think this will be one of my first things to cast on, and I am planning to make a cardigan, and I'm hoping to embroider. I don't think I'll use this red, I actually think I'll use the leftover Fivel to embroider cherries on it, because I also have a darker green, or I could find a darker green. Basically I would have something to make like the stalk of the cherry. But I saw my For You page on Instagram now is full of baby knits intentionally, because I find it really inspiring to see what other people are making. and it had suggested this brand where I think it is all hand knit, but it's all sold hand knit, so there's no pattern or anything. But they essentially make these like quite beautiful cardigans that have a lot more details than I think I will add. But they had like embroidered cherries on it, and I was like, I think that could be a really fun way. And then in time, you know, if I had another baby and I didn't have another girl, I probably wouldn't use a cardigan with cherry on it, and then this colour could be like also used for a boy, I think. So I'm planning to work through all of this in some shape or form. I will probably also make Selena another pair of Sunday socks. I just feeling this again. This I think is superwash. Like, I don't think this is Peruvian. It doesn't have that, you know, Peruvian when you feel it. I don't know if it's squeaky is the right word, but it has that kind of dry feeling. This doesn't feel dry at all. It feels that kind of slippery, plasticky feeling that you get with superwash. Not in a bad way. That's just kind of how it feels. I know this was also, my other gran also made Selena something, and she also gave me a random skein. This I think is Drops Baby Merino, or at least Drops, and I also think it's superwash, and they feel the exact same. So I really do not know what I bought. I don't know, it could be Drops Merino Extra Fine, I think also comes around in these type of balls, so maybe some of it is Drops. I don't really care. I think I paid like £12 for lots of different types of yarn, and I quite like Peruvian. So yeah, I think that's next on my list, and I might document that, and that's it. And that's basically all the knitting. So I feel like I've shown you a lot of the stuff to catch up on, and hopefully next time I come on for a podcast I have like a bit more progress on different things to show you. And I thought at the tail end I would give you like the life updates. So obviously we've moved. As you can see, I don't know how this will be as a background, so let's see what I think in editing. But this is my new Calyx unit that I keep all of my yarn and some beauty bits and lots of other things because I have an office again. Hallelujah. It wasn't, so after the last episode, we'd reached a point where Selena, like a Danish baby, quite liked a nap in her pram, and that started giving me about 40 minutes at a time to like sit and knit or like do some chores or like have a tiny bit of me time again. And so I filmed the video because I was starting to feel like I was getting back to knitting. I always enjoyed contact naps, and I've had no regrets that I didn't crack how to knit every single time I had one. I'm starting to do it a little bit more, but honestly, babies grow so quick, and I know everyone tells that to you when you have them, and it doesn't feel true whatsoever when they're first born. Like, you know, like people, I remember seeing the years are short but the nights are long, and I did not feel that was true at all. But coming now to almost a 1 year mark, it is very true. And so I think through the whole process I was like, it maybe feels like it'll be forever now. It did many times feel like it was going to be forever, but in actuality time will really fly, and I don't want to look back and think, why did I not hold my baby more or spend more time with her? And now that she's started nursery and I've gone back to work a little bit, let me tell you, I'm so glad that I took all the opportunities I could to just hold her close and wait for a phase of life where, you know, like now I have more time where I'm not holding her. Now she doesn't want to be held all day. So anyway, at the last video, because I rewatched it because I forget what I've said, and in case you did watch them chronologically, it's kind of weird if like you talk about lots of things you've already said. But shortly after I made that video, we went to see a new build. A new build had popped up in a town that we were interested in moving to. And after Selena was born, like basically we lived in a 3-bedroom house, and Selena had a room, and then we had a guest room that also had my desk in it, and we had a main bedroom, but the bedrooms were just tiny. And it just became really evident, especially with my family coming to visit, that we were just kind of struggling. Like, I wanted to keep Selena in a room with me, but we couldn't fit a bigger cot, and we couldn't fit my desk if we had that. And it just, you know, we just started feeling like we'd really outgrown the space. And the fortunate thing about living in the part of Scotland that we do is that, you know, we don't live in central Edinburgh. We could afford more space. So we went to see the show home, and as you might also know, we used to live in a new build, and I'm just going to say it, they are always a bit soulless. Like, you know, this isn't a beautiful Georgian villa, beautiful, you know, beautiful Georgian house with like lots of details and original features and fireplaces and beautiful big bay windows, and you know, it's not a little cute cottage. Like, I can't, you know, I don't have that kind of house then, and I also don't have that now. However, with a new build, you do just get the benefit that like you just move in, like everything's new, nothing needs done immediately, nothing major, and that's just very much the face of life when like we are just, you know, it's just Ben and I day to day. When we see my family, obviously they do help with Selena, but they live in a different country, so we don't have anyone who could take Selena like for us to do renovation or do big things. So we saw that new build and very much picked with our head that like this was the right choice. And you know, it's like, is there ever a good time to move? And the answer is probably no. I will say we put the house up for sale when Selena was about 5-6 months, and see, having to get a house ready for putting up for sales, like getting the pictures taken, like you do need a proper declutter and clean for that, and then preparing it for viewings was so hard. It just is really hard to keep a house that level of tidy, especially when you still live in it. You know, our living room had a massive baby prison in it, which isn't particularly pretty, and it also, I think, makes it really hard for people to imagine them in your space. So it took a few weeks to sell, which for Scotland is not quick and it's also not slow, but those weeks were very long and very hard. And then once the house sold, we had to wait for our current house to be ready, and we started packing up really early, and we had to store these boxes. And this summer has not been my favourite summer. I think we just felt on top of each other. We had no room. Selena started reaching the point where like she was crawling and getting into things, so you had to like block things off, and yeah, we were very ready to move. And then we moved in here, and I think I was excited, but until we actually fully moved in, I don't think I realised how much more we needed the space. So I now have a full office. Ben has a room for his musical instruments. We have a spare bedroom. Selena has the proper room with space. We have a main bedroom with space, and downstairs has so much room, and it honestly has just lifted my mood so much. So we're slowly settling in, but this past month has been kind of mental with like moving, me going back to work. So I've been doing half days. I'm about to start doing full days, and then Selena starting nursery because of that. She's had teeth. She started walking. Yeah, it's been a lot. But things are, I think, you know, I'm just in a time of disruption in my life, and things are like slowly but surely just slowing down to a normal pace. Because when you have a child, especially that's that young, you know, when they're very first born, it's like they have like a milestone a month, it feels like. But at Selena's age, it's like, you know, she has like a milestone a day. Like small bits she learns, like recently, like her big skill has been she's learned to get down slides, and she's very proud of that. And she started waving all the time. She's very excited by wave. You can tell she like picks up a word and she starts waving. Clapping she's done for a while, but clapping is one of her favorite skills. And you know, she's babbling and she's starting to have opinions, and yeah, it is a wonderful phase. So I don't mind that, like being busy. But essentially we moved in here, and we just like, there's a lot of like things we need to fill the space and to get things unpacked. So that's why I bought this unit, because while a Calyx maybe isn't, again, the most beautiful aesthetic piece of furniture, let me tell you, this bad boy keeps a lot of yarn and a lot of things, and I would recommend. So yeah, I think that's everything I had to say. I have no idea how long I've talked. I feel like I've talked a lot longer than I originally planned, but I hope to see you soon again. I would love to know what you're actually interested in seeing. Is anyone still here? Because I feel like I kind of stopped watching knitting podcasts for a while, because actually I felt like I really miss knitting, and I miss that piece of myself, and I'm slowly getting back to it now. I'm starting to have little pockets of me come back alongside the new me, the new mum me, but I I still am just slowly catching up on a few podcasts, and I feel like a bit out of the loop with what's in or what people are interested in, because, you know, I've been making videos now for coming up 5 years, and when I first started, like, most knitting podcasts, I, at least from what I remember, felt a bit like, you know, a bit like what I'm doing now, like just a phone in a room or a webcam, and it was very low key. And some of the videos I'm watching now are beautiful, but it's like fancy camera equipment and amazing sound and lots of different clips, and I think vlogs are becoming a lot bigger, and I just do not have a very vloggable life. We don't share Selena's face on social media, so I can't, like, I wouldn't want to put her in vlogs, and Ben is not that way inclined. He would never want to be part of my content in that way. So that kind of just leaves time with me and my dog, and I work a desk-based job. Like, there's only so much time lapse of me sitting like this that anyone would want to see. So I think I've been thinking a lot about the type of content I want to make. Like, I think I still want to make podcasts because I still enjoy watching podcasts. I do think they are maybe not like the top type of content, but I think there's still a place for them. And then I'm hoping I could think of some other topics. I don't need this to be like a full second-time job or massive income for me. And I think I just want it to be a place where I can share things, because I do quite enjoy that. So yeah, any thoughts on feeling on that one, I would really appreciate, and just reflections and any recommendations for people's content that you're really enjoying, in case I want to maybe get some inspiration and see what I've missed, because it feels like I've been away forever. And yeah, I'm actually going to go now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.